Alright, what's going on, students? This presentation today is on sentence fluency, 6+1 writing traits. So we're going to use this to improve our narrative writing. So let's go ahead and get started. So what is sentence fluency? Fluency is the smoothness or flow which sounds, syllables, words, or phrases are joined together when speaking clearly. This also applies to writing, creating an overall flow to your writing. So what other contexts have you heard the word fluency or fluent being used? So which sounds better when we talk about fluency? Let's look at this first example. We came home, we ate cookies, we played games, we ate supper, we went to bed. Or the second one, after school we rode our bikes home, shared a plate of homemade chocolate chip cookies, then we decided to play a quick game of Chinese checkers followed by our favorite Monopoly. So if you notice in the second one, it sounds a little bit better. It's not as choppy as the first one. You don't have the repetitiveness as the first example using we all over again. So sentence fluency is taking words, putting together to form sentences so that they flow and have sort of a rhythmic pattern to them. All right. So how can we make sentences flow better? And we're going to look at and talk about, brainstorm some ideas of how you can do that. So first, sentence fluency is about the sound and rhythm of language. It's the way in which sentences are woven together, affects not only the overall tone and voice of a piece, but also the clarity and meaning. Depending on the purpose, such as businesses may rely on short, direct, succinct sentences, whereas narrative have a poetic and almost musical sound to it. So it just depends on the purpose for your writing and the type of sentence fluency that you want to use. So the purposes of our narrative, we want to have that poetic, almost musical sound to our writing. So sentence fluency composes of these different elements: rhythmic patterns, natural, easy on the ear flow, easy to read out loud, poetic and musical, as we mentioned before, variety, and effective use of fragments. All right, so here's some questions that you ask yourself about sentence fluency. Read what you write aloud and listen to the flow of the language. Do you like what you hear? Does it make you sit up and take notice, or are you lulled to sleep by it, by the sing-song sameness of each sentence pattern? So you want to be able to mix up your patterns in your sentences. Your sentences should be clear and make sense. Cut out the deadwood. Don't say at this point in time we feel we are ready to begin a fight. Say now we are ready to fight. Make every word work hard, and your sentences will be powerful and full of punch. All right, so let's look at a couple examples. And I want you to notice how each sentence begins. These beginnings can often are repetitive and boring. We went to the beach. We had fun. We saw seagulls. We went home. Ooh, excuse me. See how boring that is? So you want to vary the opening and combine very short sentences. Despite being overrun with pesky seagulls, we had fun at the beach. You see how we took these short, choppy sentences and we added the two ideas together and deleted some words, added new words to mix it up. Now, on the same note, we don't want to let sentences drift on too long. If a sentence feels wildly out of control, you got to slice it in half and make it into two sentences. So again, you want to read your work out loud, listen to the rhythm and flow of the words. Does the fluency match the mood and the content? Think long and flowing where the piece is descriptive and thoughtful, and short and snappy where you want to make a point. All right, so here is a very good tool to use. It's called the Sentence Fluency Check. So you take a short excerpt of a piece of your writing, about 6 sentences. You want to number each sentence, and we'll do this in class, 1 through 6. Write the first 4 words of each sentence next to its number. Count the total number of words in the sentence and write that number down. And then when you finish, ask yourself this: are you using a variety of different sentence beginnings, or are the sentences varying in length? All right, and this is an example. So the first sentence was, today was beautiful due to the fact that we went skiing and it was awesome. Next time we will, and I'm going. So it's in terms of writing how many words are in each sentence and looking at the total to see if your sentence varies in length. All right. So this is a sentence fluency activity we're going to do in class. It's called Roll the Dice. You don't need to worry about this, so we'll move on. So sentence combining. So we want to make sure that we combine shorter sentences into longer, more mature sentences is a good skill to learn. Longer sentences can help you establish relationships that are hard to express in shorter sentences. It also helps with variety in your piece. So to effectively combine short sentences, you need to recognize what the shorter sentences have in common and then pull those together into one longer sentence. And here are a few examples for you to look at, take notes. All right, moving on. So here's an activity that I want you to put notes into or take notes on, is combining the following sets of shorter sentences into longer ones. So you want to pause the video, take these examples. So for example, you're going to take these three, combine it in one sentence, take these two, combine them in one sentence, and take these two and combine it in one sentence. And you will probably end up doing this in Edpuzzle. All right, moving on. So same thing here. You want to make sure that when you're taking shorter sentences that, and here are some examples here, you want to combine them with a relative pronoun. So for example, the writer is working on a new book. She has already published one book. The writer who has already published a book is working on a new one. So we're taking the relative pronoun who and putting it in the middle of the two ideas to combine it into one sentence. Same thing here. Carlos has started doing homework. He's getting better grades. So you use this with a subordinate conjunction. Since Carlos has started doing homework, he is getting better grades. So again, another way of combining shorter sentences. So here's activity 2. Again, you're going to combine this smaller set into longer ones. So pause the tape and do that in Edpuzzle. All right, moving on. Now in this activity, this is doing just the opposite. You're going to separate the following longer sentences into short, simple sentences. So again, you want to pause the video, complete the Edpuzzle assignment by taking these and putting them into shorter sentences. All right, now the last and final activity. These are sentences that have been taken from popular works of fiction. So the idea is see if you can combine the sentences in the same way the author has. And here's sample 1. So combine this into one sentence in Edpuzzle. And if you got it right, this is the answer. Her hair bleaching from the sun was tied back in a simple knot at the nape of her neck. How close was your sentence? Sample 2. They said death came to take you. It had come to take his father one night. His heart had attacked him. If it came to take you, then it had to take you someplace. So try to combine these into one sentence based on how you think the author wrote it. And here's the answer. How close was your sentence? All right, and then the final example, sample 3. This is from J.K. Rowling from Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire. Try to combine these sentences into one sentence, again, based on the way you think the author might have wrote it. And let's see how close you got. Here's the sample sentence. All right, so in conclusion, to wrap all this up, again, as it relates to sentence fluency, a writer should use different sentence lengths, structures, and beginnings, use language that sounds natural, give the writing an easy flow and rhythm, invite expressive oral language of the text, and use complete sentences. Fragments must add meaning to the sentence. All right, and that concludes our video on fluency. Make sure you answer those questions in Edpuzzle and submit your notes into Edmodo. Until next time, have a good evening.